In this edition of Edutainment, Oscar-winning filmmaker and co-founder of the Homo Sapiens Foundation, Michael Wadleigh, on sustainability and the cultural legacy of the 1960s. And IE University's Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Miguel Larrañaga, gives us a tour of the Segovia campus.
Is it already too late for fairness? A global good life, everyone wants it, but with so few natural resources, can everyone have it?
Michael Wadleigh is the Academy Award-winning director of Woodstock, the eponymous documentary of the seminal 1969 music festival.
Come in for a moment if you can.
Working with Birgit van Munster, Michael is also the co-founder of the Homo Sapiens Foundation, a global non-profit educational media organisation. This principal aim is sustainability for the species. Michael recently visited IE University to give a lecture entitled Homo Sapiens Report, The Big Picture, the last 130,000 years and the next 200, from the bias-reduced point of view of an alien from another universe. Biology student Kenza caught up with Michael before the event.
I'm here.
There we go.
Michael Wadleigh, thank you for joining me today.
Not at all.
How has the 60s counterculture shaped your philosophy and your approach to the Homo Sapiens project?
Profoundly. After all, the 60s, historians say, when they look back at the 20th century, they say, what's the most interesting, provocative, wild generation of all? It's the 1960s. And I used to have a sweatshirt that was my favorite that had question mark everything. You've read about this, right? Question everything. And of course, if you look at the 60s objectively from a historical point of view, ecology began then with Silent Spring, you know, biological problems.
Yes.
And suspicion of corporations, political opposition to conservatism, and then, of course, worldwide human rights and so on. So a lot of issues got started that were of a broad base. So when we come to the Homo Sapien report, which of course is authored not by me, but by an alien from another universe, that alien actually came to the planet for the first time in the 60s, so he was very influenced. But really, since it's a wide view of all subjects, that's, I think, very much due to 60s thinking. Tragically enough, in fact, we've been talking about it with your dean, tragically enough now, everyone's into specialties and they don't look at broad pictures. So this is about the broad picture.
Okay. So are there common motivation between your work as an Oscar-winning documentary maker and your involvement in sustainability and the environment?
I think so. I think the statement that I like, and I don't know which Nobel laureate said it, but that sustainable development is the most important subject for the 21st century. And certainly for someone your age, I think no one is really looking out for the future. If you look at the politicians, the business people, even the clergy, everything is down to the nanosecond, nanotechnology and everything. And who the hell is looking forward 50 years when you'll be less than 60? And I think if you don't do it, if somebody doesn't pay attention to this, and get the kids into a new movement, you know, a Homo Sapiens movement, right? Then I think you're going to be in deep shit. I really do. Pardon the idiom, you know, but
I agree
maybe
with
that would be good. Shit is fertilizer. Maybe we need more fertilizers. Maybe you'll be in shallow shit rather than deep shit.
Okay. So the 60s counterculture revolution was largely about freedom of expression and the individual. And do you think that another cultural revolution is necessary? And if you do, what form should it take?
I think it's even deeper than culture. The lecture that I'm giving says that our problems really date 230 years to essentially the Industrial Revolution, when all these machines were invented that we didn't have before, and they were so efficient at digging up natural resources and making man-made products. So I really think we have to reflect on what the Industrial Revolution is, what about it we really like, what really, really, really makes us happy. And then the other stuff, I think we need a counter-revolution of an equal magnitude, right, to this 230 years to really do it. And that would include cultural, political, economic, religious, and so on. I think it has to be an omniscient revolution, because if you look at the Industrial Revolution, it wasn't just economics at all. It had, of course, the first modern democracies. I wrote a huge script about the American Revolution. That's 1776. That's 234 years ago. So all the modern political ideas of even Adam Smith. Adam Smith wrote his famous work in 1776, also 234 years ago. So I think we have to go back to those founding works, look at what's happened now, and really broadly have a quote-unquote revolution. And especially, I would tell you, you got to look at politics and business. I think we've got to look at free market democracy objectively. That's why I've done The Alien, because he says, wait a minute, I know you love that institution, I know you think it's great, but let's really analyze it, see what it's really all about.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Michael Wadleigh.
Not at all. Thank you. I'd love to have a picture with you all. Shall I sing Marrakesh? No.
That would be amazing.
Da-da-da-da, way to Marrakesh.
When you're ready, go for it.
Is it already too late for fairness?
My name is Miguel Larrañaga. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs and the Art History Director. And I'd like to show you some of my favorite places in the university. Let's go. Here we are in the old archaeological site of the IE University. This is the place where we can find the origins of the old Dominican convent. The convent was founded at the beginning of the 13th century, and when St. Dominic came to Segovia, he received a Romanesque church, built at the end of the 12th century, and the Dominican used this church during the 13th, 14th, and 15th centuries. And we can find here the most important part, the central nave of the old Romanesque church that the Dominicans received from the citizens of the city of Segovia. This is very important also because everything is artificial. At the end of the 15th century, the Dominicans built a new yard in order to rebuild the new convent in the times of the Catholic kings Isabella and Ferdinand. And we can find some interesting surprises, like old ceramics from the Roman Empire, more or less from the 4th century. When the Dominicans built the new convent at the end of the 15th century, they built a new yard, this part of the walls, and they used materials from a Roman archaeological site located up to the north. So we can find ceramics, bones, and all other materials, archaeological materials from that Roman site. Come with me. I'm going to show you the rest of the room. This is actually, we use it for a meeting places with faculty. But we have something interesting to show you here. For example, this block, this stone, comes from the original church from the 13th century. As I said before, the Dominicans destroyed the old church and they rebuilt the new convent at the end of the 15th century. But we can find everywhere materials from that old church. And we use this room, as a meeting room, and there is also a direct connection with the cave of St. Dominic. Let me show you this very, very quickly. How to transform an old convent into a new university. This is a new area for workshops and regular classes, for example, for architects. And now I will show you some more history. We are in the cave of St. Dominic. This part of the chapel was built during the times of the Catholic kings, Isabella and Ferdinand, at the end of the 15th century. We can find there the F of Ferdinand, and in the other side, the Y of Isabella, and also some other symbols from the Dominican order. For example, the fox and the dog. The fox is the symbol of heresy, and the dog is the symbol of the Dominicans. And in the other side, here, the royal eagle with the seal of the Leon-Castile region. Now, I'm going to show you the cave of St. Dominic, the most important part of the Dominican order. Here we are in the cave of St. Dominic. a very sacred, a very holy place for the Dominicans. We can find here St. Dominic praying when he received the church, the Romanesque church, in 1218. And just behind me, another important sculpture from the end of the 15th century by one of the most important artists from that time, Sebastian of Almonacid. I hope you enjoyed this university tour. Bye!
Join us again next time for another edition of Edutainment.